Okay, let me paste this into the chat. And then begin. Alrighty, welcome to the Mediacurrent Contrib Half-Hour. It is halfway through October, and today we're doing another testing lab. So our agenda is, as always, for testing labs, housekeeping, then, oh wait, we're not doing last week, did that last week. Quick review of the story so far, and then for today we're doing more Metatag migrations, and we'll do that in lab time. So my name is Damien McKenna. I am community lead at Mediacurrent. I use the pronouns he, him. I've been involved in Drupal since 2007. I do a bunch of contribute things, but people recognize me as that guy with the bunny ears who hops around issue queues. So my time is sponsored by Mediacurrent. We're a full-service digital agency that implements world-class open-source software development strategy and design to achieve defined goals for enterprise organizations seeking a better return on investment. And we love Drupal. Next week is we're doing another upgrade lab. It'll be a continuation of this one, kind of pairing these two meeting types together because there's a lot of overlap and good we can do pairing them. Then for Halloween, we're going to do scary Drupal stories. I figured it would be amusing for us to take a look at some mistakes we've made, stories of projects that went wrong, things that undocumented features and things that may have bit us in the posterior in the past. Disclaimer, we're not going to allow personal attacks or anything like that. It's just about annoying, weird, facepalm-worthy things that especially we did on projects. So I've got a couple of my own that I'll be sharing. Then after that, we'll kick off November with news, issues, and Q&A, and then another testing lab. This meeting has been set up as a community project. Go to drupal.org/project/contrib_half_hour, where you can see all the things, including the upcoming agendas. And if you pop along to issue 30, 85, 56, 1, people who are in the meeting can get issue credit for attending. So the story so far, we're working off a series of blog posts that show how to write blog posts tests for Drupal 7, and based off of the Drupal web test case class. That looks kind of like this, where you do a command to request a URL off of the site. You make sure that you get a valid response. Then you can do things like check to see that there's a certain field on the page, post values to a form, etc., etc. Then in Drupal 8, there's a similar blog post that uses the web test case class, and you have similar code, though it's a little verbose because Drupal 8 is a little verbose. But you can do lots of things like assert that there is text on the page, or assert that certain text never appears on the page. You can check for raw HTML, though you do need to be very careful with this because it will check for, it will match exact white space. So if you have all of these tabs and spaces and line breaks, it will expect you to check to have that in your string. And you can make sure that you never, ever, ever have a marquee tag on your site. But there's lots and lots and lots to do. So today we're going to look at more meta tag migrations. As mentioned before, we got per entity meta tag D7 migrations into a recent release of Metatags for D8, which helps a lot of folks who are trying to upgrade their sites from D7 to D8. Next, we started working on migrating per entity values from Metatags quick, but I had a change of heart because of other issues. So we're going to work on Nodewords because there are still an awful lot of sites that use Drupal 6 and lots of sites that have the Nodewords module installed. Let's take a side step and focus on this for a while. It's also a slightly more straightforward upgrade in that it matches more closely the D7 upgrade. So it'll make our labs a little easier. So as before, the plan is to write some fixtures and write tests to work with the fixtures, and then write migrated templates and process plugins. Today, we're going to look at writing fixtures. So let's jump into it. Too far ahead. And take a look at what we have. So this is the issue that we're looking at. It is migrations Nodewords D6 per entity data for Metatag. And today, based on some feedback from user Hedden, Hedden, Lucas Heading. That was it. Thank you. So thanks to a reference from or link from Lucas, we have documentation or an official documentation page on writing fixtures a slightly easier way. Instead of having to do it by hand, there are two handy dandy scripts to do it for you. One set of scripts works for Drupal 6 and the other works for Drupal 7. And let me paste this into the chat so we have it. And have in the chat log to make it easier for later. So the basic idea is you start off with an empty database. You edit your settings.php file to point to this new database that is empty. And then you run a script to load it up with the Drupal core test fixtures. Drupal 6 and Drupal 7 both have, or sorry, Drupal 8 has example data that it uses for its tests for Drupal 6 and for Drupal 7. And you use this import dbtools import command to load the appropriate file into your database based upon the line that you give in the settings file. In this case, the database name is called Drupal fixture. So in the database tool, they created a database called Drupal fixture. But you reference it using the key in the database's array. So in this case, the database name in Drupal was called fixture connection. So in the database's array, it's called fixture connection, and that's the argument you pass to the import command. You then go through, or you hook that database up to your Drupal installation, your Drupal code base. You then do whatever it is you want to do. So enable modules, create content, do whatever changes you want to do. And then you export out the changes or the database again to a new file and see what changes were made. So we're going to do that. I've gone through the first couple of steps. I have a blank database with that has a blank database that had the fixtures import script ran. So it creates all of these tables out of the box. I then enabled Nodewords basic, which enables the basic module and the main Nodewords module. It was split up a funny way back then. So that has been enabled. So now if I open up my D6 sandbox site, I've also logged in. So now I'm logged in as the root user on this D6 site. What I want to do is create a new page. Unfortunately, there is one minor gotcha with the import. It does not create a term for a tag for this required field. So you want to create a page node, you go to fill in the values, but there are no tags in the tags vocabulary. So you can't pick anything on a required field. So you then have to go to the term, the tags vocabulary and add a new term. So test term, and we'll hit save. Validation error. Okay, let me try that again. Test term, save. Okay, created new term, test term. So now if I reload, the tags selector now has a field. So now we can create our test page. This is going to have some sample text. And the reason we're after this is we want to do meta tags. We want to add a test title, test description, test abstract. Let's do keyword 1, keyword 2, canonical URL, this /URL, just to have something there. Scroll down, let's do a few robots because we like robots. No follow, no snippet. And then we go down and hit save. All right, so let's take a quick look at the database. The database has 2 tables. There's the Nodewords table and then the Nodewords custom table. Nodewords custom is, I forget what that table is for, but most of the entity data goes into, or the entity, or in Drupal 6 terms, the node, taxonomy term, and user records go into the Nodewords table. As you can see, it's fairly straightforward. It has empty ID, which is the meta tag ID, which basically is the primary key for this table. It has a type field, which corresponds to a constant in the module to indicate what type of record this is. In this case, 5 corresponds to a node. ID is the ID of that type, so node ID 23. And then each meta tag has a separate record. And it stores a value primarily, but some tags have extra options as well. So it's an array, a nested array in some cases. So we have this data. So now what we need to do is, I'm actually running the script on a separate instance, separate database. I just need to copy that back over. There is one, anybody who's done a lot of work with Drupal over the years might remember with Drupal 6, when you're copying the database from one location to another, Very often it will renumber the anonymous user account, its UID. So I have to go back in and change UID for the anonymous account to 0. So, but the idea is I now have a, let's see, where was it? Database that I can run the export command against. So I'm now going to do this export command on my Drupal 8 instance, PHP core scripts db tools dump database is called db2, and then I give it the path to the module or the fixtures file I'm creating. So it is in modules, contrib, metatag, tests, fixtures, so the convention I was using was module name, core name, and type. So this is going to be Nodewords D6 entities. Hit enter. Too many arguments. What did I do? Oh, I forgot to. It is going to pipe out or return the output of the dump command to the terminal. So instead of just getting a faceful or a screen full of database fixtures, I output it to a file. So I'm going to open up my Metatag codebase in handy text editor and see what it looks like. It has created the file, and lo and behold, we have the full dump of everything that was in the site when I did the export. Git branch for your patch. So this, as it happens, has the entire database dump. So first things first is to work out how to trim it down to just the pieces I want. Let's take a look at the metatag import. So back there, that one only had that. Let me just do a quick double check on the instructions. Import the data. Run the commands. Or that's what it shows. And make changes, exports to there. So to the fixtures file. Oh, I did it wrong. I did actually need to output it directly to the core directory. So I made the mistake of outputting it into the file I wanted, which was actually not the correct approach. What I need to do is rerun the command, and this time output it on top of the fixture file I imported earlier. The rationale is that we want to see what the differences are so that when we run our fixture in the test, it will have already loaded all of the other data. So we can just narrow it down to the changes that we actually want. So I'm going to keep the file that was created, but I'm going to remove all of the data creation stuff. So just have the stub at the top. And then I'm going to do git status here. Oh, I was working on something before, but this is fine. So now I do git diff on the core fixtures file and see what changes it has. Lots of noise there. So I'm going to go back and grab the file name. Going to do git diff again. I'm going to append the changes to this file here. It will be messy, but ultimately we will be able to work through it. So a lot of the changes here are inconsequential, where it was making minor modifications because probably I'm using a newer database tool than what the fixture was originally created in. I don't need cache container. I'm not worried about cache content. Content type story. Lots and lots of minor noise. And an awful lot of minor noise here. Let's make the screen bigger so I can skip through it a bit more quickly. I'm going to skip to the end. Okay. Values. So it creates, so ultimately we have it creating a record in the node table. So I'm going to leave a to-do note here. To-do, this is the node that was created. Don't need node access. So it does seem like it created that record. To-do node access record. Another to-do node counter record. So there are lots of records being created that we want to keep. Revisions, record. Node type, don't need node type. And here's the main table that we're after today, Nodewords. And it creates the Nodewords table, inserts the record that was created, creates the Nodewords custom table. We didn't actually use that, but that's fine. skip through. The search index was updated, was created actually. Not going to worry about that. Semaphore table. So the next piece is, this is the system table. To do system table record. So there's going to be, there will be a few system table records in here for Nodewords. Down at the bottom, after all of the core stuff and contrib stuff. Actually, I've got a ton of modules, so there will be a lot. And I'm not worried about any of this until we get down Nodewords. Search again. Okay, there we go. So to do, where's the previous one? Okay. So I go too far. No, not far enough. Node Q, Nodewords. So here are the modules that come with Nodewords out of the box. The basic Nodewords, Nodewords Basic, Nodewords Extra, Nodewords OG. And then there are a ton of other contrib modules I have to have, or I happen to have in my local sandbox. Themes. And finally at the bottom, okay. Then there was a term data record because it did actually create a term. Term hierarchy. I'm not sure what that is actually. But there's tons and tons of stuff to clean up. This is the user's record. I'm going to remove all of those. Then I think this is the variable table. And Nodewords does include a whole bunch of variables, but I'm not dealing with that today. So what we have so far is a whole bunch of diffs that will need to be dealt with. So first things first, remove the plus symbols from all of the lines. And I missed that. Which is see where I'm going here. Lots of tidying to do. Then we're going to do, ultimately this is going to be lines like this, where it's insert node with a node ID, the user ID, the title, etc., etc. Then we're going to have NID, VID, type, UID, language, title, UID, etc. All of those will be listed up here. Then we repeat that for each record that is created. So for node access, we need to add node ID, last comment that, and then comment count, and on and on. I'll just do one more. So this is node ID, total count, day count, timestamp, and on. So keep going through and pruning that down, and then eventually we will have a nice clean file that looks kind of like this. And we'll be able to upload that as a patch back to our issue. That will do it for today. I'll finish this up and get this uploaded so you can follow along on the issue. Post a link to that issue so you can see the progress, and then next week we'll pick it up and start looking at writing the record migrations. Thank you for joining us. Hope everyone has a fantastic week, and see you next time.